Welcome to Make Growth Happen, the podcast designed to empower small and medium business owners with actionable insights and proven strategies to drive sales and elevate their marketing effectiveness. I'm your host, Garth Fasano, president and co-founder of Rainmaker, and this podcast is your go-to resource for navigating the complexities of modern sales and marketing. Each episode features inspiring conversations with successful SMB owners who have scaled their businesses, vendors offering cutting-edge solutions, and sales leaders with a proven track record. Together, we'll uncover innovative tactics, share real-world stories, and explore key strategies that lead to sustainable growth. Whether you're looking for practical tips, strategic advice, or just inspiration to take your business to the next level, Make Growth Happen is here to guide and support you on your journey in today's competitive market. Today, we're going to dive into marketing due diligence for ETA or search entrepreneurs. In the last episode, we talked a whole bunch about what to think about in sales due diligence. And just to give the overview again, the thesis that many ETA entrepreneurs and searchers have is that they can come in, buy an older business, something that's been around for 10, 20 years, make some key investments in sales and marketing and operations, modernize the business, and achieve modest and sustainable growth that is really, really valuable for a business that has been operating for years, potentially, with flat growth. So I think one of the key takeaways that we had in the sales discussion was to, if you can, get recordings of the sales conversations. We're really talking and focusing about home services companies, think like home cleaning, pest control, a lot of franchise brands that are focused in this area. It's a lot of the types of clients that we have at Rainmaker. And so what we want people to think about is, what do those sales conversations actually look like? What are your clients actually asking for? What is the pricing? Are you discounting? How effective are those salespeople on your team? And what's the structure of the team? So today, we're going to talk a lot about the marketing. And I think there are a lot of different types of businesses that people can be buying, from B2C, B2B. We're really going to be focusing here on B2C, but I think there will be a lot of applications as well for B2B businesses. So the three things that we want people to think about in marketing due diligence is, first, the lead sources. Where are the leads coming from? Second, the pipeline and funnel metrics. And then third, the customer acquisition costs and how those are being optimized. So a lot of businesses that you jump into may not know a lot of these things. An owner that has been operating the business for years may have no idea about customer acquisition costs, but these are really important metrics that you're going to be able to want to get to make those improvements on the marketing side to grow the business. So let's jump right in. So the first thing is on lead sources. We've got to identify where their leads are coming from. One of my friends, Connor Gross, he's going to be on an upcoming podcast. His advice is, in your business model, plan that all of your leads are going to be digital. So you're going to have to buy every single lead, use that as the base case in your business model. But then, once you get into that business, work your tail off such that, hopefully none of your leads come from digital sources. So a bunch of common sources that people would have is organic search, effectively free ads, because maybe the business website has been around forever. We have a client whose website gets tens of thousands of hits every month, and he bought it when it like that, and there was no paid advertising. So that is certainly a possibility. The next one is paid ads like Google PPC, Meta, AdWords, Performance Max, LSA, a whole bunch of sources that could fall into that category. Referrals, so, client referrals, and a lot of people love to say that there are client referrals. I would really encourage you to try to quantify that and understand how that works. I think one of the concerns I would have is, do referrals come as a customer calls the owner's cell phone and then tells them about it? Like, how are you going to be able to transfer that? How will that work in the future? Like, if the owner tells people to call you, will that work? Like, really unclear. And then another one might be cold outreach, and think of some classic home service businesses like roofing and windows. Those are often like boots on the ground, cold outreach strategies. So then, as you understand a little bit of the landscape of where leads come from today, what are you going to move the needle on? And, like I think a lot of the common thoughts is, oh, I'm just going to do more digital. Well, digital's expensive, it's complicated. You have to have really good metrics across your pipeline and customer acquisition costs. And so, are those systems in place? And those things take a little bit of time. So I want searchers to be realistic with themselves about what they will be able to do to really change that and change that quickly in a meaningful way. So, the next thing is, and we sort of talked about this with referrals of the lead sources in the business today. Are they repeatable and scalable? And so, I think some of them may not be. And I think that's why people love digital. You just add some dollars in and you get more leads. But over time, those could become more and more expensive. So the customer acquisition cost, the LTV, starts to decline to not be in your favor. So while it certainly works, and if there's zero spend on digital today, there's probably a bunch of opportunity to get more leads from that channel. But it is going to take some time to understand, like, hey, what should our ad copy be? How do we build the funnel? What sort of lead magnets are we using? And all the modern strategies. Not that those aren't insurmountable, but they're certainly things that you're going to have to figure out. So the next thing on that marketing side is to really think about the pipeline and the funnel metrics. So like, what does the website look like? What do people click to as a landing page? And really starting to understand the cost per lead, how many marketing qualified leads are you getting, and how are those flowing through to contacted leads, and identifying bottlenecks and drop-off points across this entire conversion cycle. So probably chances are that the seller of this business hasn't done that before because the business has grown or been stable and they have no debt. And so you're going to want to understand, what is it going to take to look at these? Do you have the right kind of analytics on your website? Are you going to need to refresh the website? Are you going to need to refresh the branding? So asking yourself these kinds of questions can really trickle into a whole bunch of other sets of activities that, as the new owner operator, would fall on you. So really want to think very intentionally about that and balance this activity and this project versus all the other things that you're going to have going on as a new owner. And then the last thing I want people to think about is, like, the holy grail for some of these businesses that don't have this is to get to understanding their customer lifetime value to their customer acquisition costs, and by channel. So what do referrals cost to acquire? What is the lifetime value? What does it cost for a PPC lead versus an LSA lead? And what's the lifetime value of each of those? And so once you start to build out that data set, then you can make really effective decisions about how to market for your business. Should you invest in community events and activities? Should you invest in PPC? Should you invest in LSA? And how do you treat each of these leads differently to maximize the CAC to LTV ratio? So I think that these are three things that really a lot of searchers think, hey, I can make improvements here. And I would just want to really challenge searchers to say, well, what am I specifically going to improve? What does that project look like? And what are all the projects that need to get done before that to even make that happen? Because like we just talked about with funnel metrics and understanding visitors on your website, maybe the website hasn't been updated in 10 years. Maybe you need a new brand. So it's not just about adding Google Analytics on there. And like, sure, that will help. That's one way to go about it. But you might need to overhaul the brand. You might need to overhaul the messaging. And, all that probably needs to be done before you start measuring, because you already know, without all those data points, that there are a lot of improvements that need to be made first. So I think another couple of stories that I want to share about this is, I've worked with some searchers that have acquired businesses and had really interesting experiences. One hired a CMO, brought in a bunch of digital advertising, did a whole bunch of activities around that, and realized that they started to outspend relative to their cash flow, and they had to wind a lot of that back. So once you're in the company, remember, you are going to be constrained by some of these cash flow and working capital constraints. As you start to make these investments, it takes time for them to pay off. And so that balance is really tricky and something that a lot of people need to think about. Similarly, we had another searcher and one of the clients at Rainmaker who acquired a business with thousands and thousands and thousands of organic visitors on his website every month and just didn't have a good sales follow-up process. So, like, you don't need all of this data to understand exactly where the opportunities are, but certainly need to take the steps to be collecting all this data so you can understand how to press the gas on as quickly as possible. So I hope this helps. If you're thinking about buying a business, check out the other podcast for tips on what to dive into in the sales side. For the marketing side, please be thinking about, what are the sources of leads? How are those going to transfer? And what would you be doing to be moving that business to understand CAC to LTV? Hope that helps, and see you on the next one.